you obviously cut you off from the whole process. Now, the next thing is to look out for your offer after you are done with all the processes, such as submission of your required test scores or any other document, the letter of recommendation, CV, statement of purpose, completing of the online document. And remember, the online application does it's not only limited to these it's not only limited to these specifications that I've listed. Sorry, I'm trying to find the specifications. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. But kindly mute your mic when you join. Yes. So, like I was saying, the whole application process is not limited to only the um, requirements. And so you need to look out for different schools and the type of requirement they look out for. Some go as much as covering all these things. Some do not even request for all these processes. And you could get your admission without necessarily going through all these processes. So just look out for the school and the type of information they require from you before you can be considered as a complete applicant. And so once you're done with all these processes, the next thing is to look out for your offer and probably accept it. And then you can start processing your visa. And like my boss Vasco will always say, what happens is that the whole process is like a project. It's actually a year-long project, and so you need to apply your project management skills, and usually calls it project 101 skills and things of that sort. Because what happens is that all these processes takes quite a time, and for many schools usually before you can, if you are planning to go for school, let's say next year, you have to be looking at starting your whole application process right now. And so you need to plan out everything in terms of financial planning, in terms of document planning, in terms of time management planning, and everything involved. And so once you are done with all these things and you look out for your offer, if you are given the offer, then you can look out for visa processing. And all these depend or vary from country to country. So for some schools, it's as simple as just replying to an email that you have seen their offer and that you appreciate the offer and you hereby accept to join their program. For some schools, they will send you a contract for you to sign. And for some schools, you need to probably pay an enrollment deposit that would secure your admission for you. And for some schools, you probably just need to log into the portal and probably do some one or two clicks. And so you need to look out for different schools and what they may present to you after you are done with the whole process. And then you can go ahead to work out your visa and other processes. And the visa also varies from country to country. So depending on the country, it could be as simple as just submitting your admission letter and any other supporting documents for your visa processing. It could also vary from country to country, like maybe for some other countries like the US, you would have to um, request for the university to give you certain documents, which is called I-20 and other supporting documents for you to use as evidence to apply for your visa, go for interview, and all sort of things. So you need to be very well and open-minded to whichever country you're applying to, learn about the country process um, in the whole journey, and then see how best you can approach it and ask for help if necessary. And so I would move from this stage to the main agenda of the day, which is about CV, and then we'll later move on to the statement of purpose. Now, CV is a very crucial part of the whole document because generally CV um, is not a document that is only like required by graduate school application. It is also required at the job place. And so for graduate school application, you need to understand the type of CV that the school require or request from you. For some schools, they may just state that they just want a CV, and so in that case, you would want to also read further into like some of the requirement of the school. So, for instance, if they say that they want a CV, and then you later see in the program that okay, they're looking out for someone who is like self-motivated or have research experience, then it means that you would have to retweak your CV to show that okay, you have these abilities and you have these skills within you. If they say that they just want a CV and then they later go and say that okay, they are looking for people who have industrial experience or have worked in the professional field, then it means that you would have to go back and rework your CV to show your professional experience and skills that you have built over time. And so this is very important. And so to know which type of CV to submit, you have to read from the university application um, website or the program website or any other site that you would find some document that is or any information that is necessary. Now, there's difference between CV and biodata. So, well, for I think the US, they sometimes refer to it resume, and um, the other part of the world, some call it CV as well, which means curriculum vitae. But the thing is, it's not so important to write on the CV that, okay, CV or curriculum data or resume, you can save the file with that kind of format, but it's not so important to write on it like how I've written on the title CV, then column general knowledge. This is because for a lot of people, sometimes you can just save it and by mistake you probably save it like with the wrong name or you might spell the curriculum vitae wrongly and which would be considered as a red flag from the go. The other thing is that for many um, systems, they use something called applicant tracking system, which I would probably share much light later on. And that system is able to track down your CV and check on certain details. And so seeing that you have that title on it, it might just think that, okay, curriculum vitae is your name. And so it would probably not be able to align it or um, categorize it under some of the other documents you have submitted for your CV. So kindly take note of that as well. And so there's clear difference between CV and biodata. For biodata, usually what happens is that they are looking out for details about you so that in terms of like we have like job biodata, we have educational biodata, we have professional biodata, and things like that. So for biodata, they are looking out for certain details that they want to see about you before offering you something. But for a CV, it's completely different. And so you in a CV, there are certain things that you don't need to necessarily add to it. And in the biodata, it could be there. I'm saying this because for some students, they have the advantage of having attended certain CV sessions in their schools, or um, they probably had the opportunity to attend certain workshops and things like that that has to do with CV preparation, and they've seen the differences. But for some other people, they completely have no idea, and so on their CV, you see them put age, date of birth, place of birth, gender, weight, height, and things like that. And you will see a CV with one whole page with all these details. And would this is like completely unnecessary and that not it's not going to be evaluated if they see those kind of CV. Like if they see your CV with all these details, they wouldn't need it for any purpose until or unless it is requested for by the school. So you have to take note between the biodata and then the CV. The CV is for you to create an impression about yourself and present yourself in a very unique way. Now, some items to add on your CV or what a CV should contain. So for general CV, it should have a name, address, and contact info. And this should be on a reasonable font size and style and things like that. This is because the most application systems use the applicant tracking system, like I mentioned earlier. And so these systems read uh, through or they scan through your application to be able to. Hello, is someone speaking? Okay. Yeah, so some of these schools or even job um, portfolios and things like that uses these applicant tracking systems. And these systems are able to scan through your CV to pick up certain data and details about you. And then they use these details to score your application. And then it would then be allowed to move to the next stage of the application. And so if you don't use a reasonable font, the system would not be able to read the type of font you are using. So for some people, they may want to stylish their CV and they use a particular font that it may not even be readable to an AI system. And so doing something like that is a red flag from the go. Make sure you use a very short address and use a professional email. A professional email in the sense that don't use email like um, Jamaica 99 at something something, or like don't use your nickname or names that would not sound so professional. This is because you are presenting yourself to a, a society, or you're presenting yourself to these graduate professionals, which in this case are looking out for students to come to their university. And so you don't want to submit emails that would, at the go or from the look of it, would even make them suspicious. For instance, hacker99 or something like that at gmail.com. Already, they won't even, the system would flag it from the go. And then you can add your cell. Now, when you are adding your phone number, yeah, sexy queen, sexy queens, yeah, things like this are highly unrecommended. And then when you're adding your cell or your phone number, it's highly recommended to add your country code. This is because they may not specifically know the country where you're applying for. And so for an international institution to reach back to you, if they prefer calling instead of email, they may not be able to find like your country code to call you back. For LinkedIn, try to make it professional as possible. Now, LinkedIn has a way for you to be able to optimize your um, LinkedIn link. So what that means is that for a general link, it would usually use your name plus some other number, and that will make it a bit long and some way. So you would want to check out how to edit that so that you can edit it and make it very simple as well. Now, on a CV too, you want to show research interest or probably a summary. Now, for people who are usually interested in PhD applications, although you might be adding your research proposal or something like that, but it's usually very good for you to um, put a very summarized one or two or three sentences within your CV that kind of summarizes your research interest. So for some people, they prefer to call it executive summary or research interest or just summary. And I will be showing you a sample of my CV and other things later in the presentation. So with that one, you want to make it such that they would be able to know who they are dealing with from the word go. And you also want to use some keywords. So, like I stated earlier, some of the universities might mention certain keywords in the whole application guideline. And so, if you see those keywords, it will be highly recommended that you use those keywords to prepare your CV. For instance, if they said they are looking out for someone who is research averse or something like that in the space of IT. You want to use IT words like um, JavaScript programmer or something like that, or maybe if it is engineering, you want to use words like okay, um, let's say a fabricator, or let's say someone who is able to design and analyze um, systems and things like that. You want to use certain keywords because also in the application tracking system, the system is able to pick up some of these keywords from your CV, and it can be able to use that to score your CV higher in order to allow you to move to the next stage of the application. The next thing is about your education and achievement. Usually, it's very it's highly recommended for you to state your um, education and background and things like that. But what happens is that, for instance, for someone who has just completed undergrad, the best for you to do is to mention up to your high school, so you can have your undergrad school full name, the institution, and then the program. And then the next one could be your high school. That is if you think it's so necessary. But if you have also participated in some other exchange programs, or you happen to attend to other schools or something like that, it won't be too necessary for you to mention all the way back to your high school. And so by that, it means that you don't even need to mention your GHS at all, because it obviously everyone knows that for you to even get to university, you attended a GHS, and so it would be waste of space and time for you to be adding all those details. The next thing is for you to mention the full name of your program. The reason being that different programs are referred to by different short codes in different countries. So for some countries, for instance, MIS could mean something else, but in some countries it could mean management information system. And so if you shorten your program of study, already the reviewers or the institutions might have a different idea altogether, or they may not even be able to figure out the program you are trying to refer to. And you could as well add your grade if it is necessary, but it's usually not very crucial. It's usually optional. And you can also state the timeline or the date in which you completed your education as well. You can mention some few relevant courses if you think it's that important. For instance, you're looking at someone who it's let's say have some um, or someone who really want to go into renewable space, and you have taken courses like, let's say, renewable energies, or you've taken courses in climate science and things like that. You want to point out those courses in your CV so that they see. But all these things should also be short as well. I'll show you the sample so that you would be able to see it very well. The next thing is for you to add something like thesis or publications and conferences. This is because for many schools, or for many schools, what happens is that a lot of students apply. And so for you to stand out, you need to show evidence of some level of work you've done. It could be as simple as some detailed class project that you've done and you were able to publish it on a peer-reviewed journal, or it could also just be a simple conference where you went to present on your project that you were doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be an international conference. You just have to frame it in a way that shows professionality. So it could be that okay, maybe you went on at a symposium in Accra or some other place to present on some club project that you are running back, you run back in school and things like that. Try to factor all these things in. And in terms of the publications, you need to be consistent in the type of references you are using. If you're using APA, you need to be consistent with APA. If you're using IEEE, you need to be consistent with that, and any other thing. Also, with timelines, you need to also be consistent. And you can also indicate your affiliation if you are a researcher in an institution, or if you are supporting any research institution, you could also mention that as well. But then a quick one back to the education and achievement. So that one, it could you could mention things like, okay, if you've ever appeared on the dean's list of your university, you could mention that as well. It's an achievement. If you were awarded a scholarship while in school, it's an achievement. If you also probably were given a best student of a particular course, it's an achievement. And so you want to highlight all these things to make your CV stand out as well. The next thing to talk or to touch on is research project or work experience. Now, I saw some questions in the group session asking about people who were asking if they don't have work experience. If you don't have work experience, you probably have some school research work or project that you did in the course of your education. And so try to find a way to craft these ones very well by mentioning the name and some accomplishments or accomplishment statements uh, alongside with the name of the project, the contribution or your role, and then the timeline. So I'll share an example for you to see as well. And what I would advise to people who are still students is that you should try your best to engage or um, pass through the school. Don't let the school pass through you. Or I don't know, like people have some statement around that thing. Make sure one way or the other you engage while in school. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about, let's say, project alone. So for instance, there are usually wide range of activities that happens in school. If you can be the one who would always be the top notch in class so that you can write that on your CV, then you should be that person who is leading your school football team to always win like some football league. Or you could be the one leading your school basketball team. Or you could be the one leading some awareness on campus about, let's say, um, mental health awareness. You could be that person also contributing to, let's say, a particular club that is running on campus as well. um, you could possibly also be someone who have led in some other club portfolios and things like that. And also, yeah, so just like Abigail added, thank you, you can as well include certifications and programs. So for some students, maybe during your summer break or something like that, you participated in a certification program on, let's say, um, Allison or some official site where you took some IT courses or some skills building or some capacity building training session where you obtain certificate and things like that. For ladies, maybe you attended some hands-on training things that you think is valuable or aligns with the program you are trying to apply to, then you can add it as well. The last but not the least is about leadership, volunteering, and entrepreneurship. So, like I said earlier, it it's it's not always all about academics. It could be that okay, you are the one, and I mean, usually in school, there are a lot of things that happen, ranging from student politics to clubs to sports to games to a whole lot of things. So if you are not like the academic guru, then try to find a place to fix yourself. It could be a community impact as well, like Moses mentioned, project that you've carried out. So you can lead um, your your group, or you can lead some group of students to just like probably go to a community and do some cleanup exercise, or you can just request for friends to donate items so that you give it to orphanages and a whole lot of things. So in this case, you can be able to write about your leadership position. And in terms of volunteerism, it also comes back to, let's say, community impact projects and things as well. And so with these ones, and the last part could also be entrepreneurship. So if you're someone who have set up some small grocery store in school where you are able to sell, let's say, chargers and headphones and things like that to students, it's an entrepreneurship skill you have developed. And so you need to state it very well on your CV. And in terms of stating it on your CV, you need to state some achievements and things like that so that anybody reading it knows that, okay, this person was a partaker or they were able to contribute to their community where they were, which is their school in this case. And so in that sense, you will be able to, yes, and also add citations as well in terms of um, the the thesis and publications that I stated earlier. Yeah. And so, like I said in the ATS system, you need to avoid AI generated CV. This is because, like I said earlier, the ATS system is able to track. And so when you use some of these AI generated CVs, one, it may make your CV like, so what can possibly happen is that for some of these AI generated, they can generate the CV and probably make it in the form of like an image or something like that. So for instance, I know some of these ones are hates like AI. And so for some people, they may not be able to afford the paid version and they will go for the free version, which the system may finish and generate the CV, which would be like in an image format. And so if you submit it, the ATS system may not be able to scan through to pick up the words because it will just be seeing an image and it will not be seeing the word. So that might be one of the challenges. Two, the AI system may just combine words that are regular words. And so other AI system or the ATS system may be able to flag it as a CV that is generated by another AI. And what that would mean is that the system will just see you as a lazy student who doesn't want to struggle to put together a professional CV, and so already you'll be flagged. Um, so I would move on to the statement of purpose. The statement of purpose is another very important document in the whole application process. Very, very important because um, I'll just finish with um, this the statement of purpose part so that we can quickly take the question. But for the statement of purpose, it's very, very important because that is where you are telling your whole story. You are trying to sell yourself. And like Vasco said the other time, the statement of purpose is like you now putting your CV in a more story-like manner. Because remember, in your CV, you are only using bullet points. And in your CV, it's good to keep a very positive tone. You don't want to use very negative words. And so in your statement of purpose, it gives you the opportunity to mention some challenges that you faced throughout the whole process and how you were able to overcome them. For instance, if you were a student who was running some entrepreneurship project on campus by selling, let's say, some chargers and things, airport to your other colleagues, how did you come by the whole idea? Was it something that you faced, or was it something that just came through brainstorming and things like that? That is where you are now able to tell the true story behind what your CV is saying about you. And so for possibly PhD applicants and PhD like programs, they usually request for research proposal. And so in the research proposal, it's basically just a document that you would write to explain your research interest. But for statement of purpose, it's usually just
What do you mean?
something that covers beyond even your research proposal, even though the research proposal is a detailed document outlining just your research interest alone. But the statement of purpose goes beyond that. Now, moving on, general structure of statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose, it's a story and it is your story. So you need to tell it in a very strategic way. And one of the key things you start with it's your background. But then before we even move to the background, like the CV, many other schools also give guidelines as to what type of statement of purpose they are requesting from you. And so if it is a general statement of purpose, then you can go with this structure. But if it is a specific statement of purpose, because I know of some schools that would request for a statement of purpose regarding only your community engagement, or they could be asking about your leadership experience, or they could be asking about your academic struggles and your academic journey and things like that. And so if it is specific, then you need to follow the guidelines to write it very strategic. But if it is not specific and it is general, then you need to use some of the general structure pointers to write it very well. But it's not also limited to just the structure as well. So the first thing is your background. So in your statement of purpose, you want to give a very brief background about yourself, stating what motivated you right from your childhood, where you healed from, and things like that. This is because you are trying to tell a story, and you can't just jump without telling who you are or where you started your whole journey from. So you need to give a brief description about you. It's always not all about like it it's not always all about you telling like a very sad story about yourself and okay, I'm from Africa and um, I was born into a struggling family and things like that. No, you have to let the story flow. It could be that okay, growing as a child or something like that, you were very interested in certain things, and those were like drives that kind of pushed your interest into some sort of programs that you decided to pursue in high school, and that led to maybe your decision in choosing some other programs in your graduate or your undergraduate level and things like that. So the next thing is to speak about some of your current work. So like I said earlier, if you mention your background and things like that and what motivated you, how you made a choice about your whole um, undergrad program of choice and things like that. You need to demonstrate what you have been doing with the skills you have gained from your undergrad. Because remember, you are seeking to join institutions who are trying to make impact. And so if they see that you are someone who is coming and you have not done anything with the degree you have obtained, or you have not made any contribution with whatever um, knowledge you've already gained, then they they wouldn't see the need to bring you on board because they they won't be certain, or there's no assurance that okay, coming to gain that knowledge you would use it at all. And so you need to connect the dot. Okay, I'm from this background, and this was my interest, and then gaining access or gaining admission into this school, I was able to use this knowledge to contribute in this way. And these are some of the current work I'm doing. And the works, it doesn't necessarily have to be something extraordinary. It could be as simple as someone volunteering to support your community, educate them on something that you have learned from school that you think is very valuable to the community and will change their life. It could also be something like, let's say you are now organizing and training people in your community or even in your school day, the skills you gain, or someone, let's say you are a BA student, a business administration student, and so gaining the skills from that business, you were able to have a small startup in school. And after school, you've been able to even expand the startup wider, or you've been able to raise some funding and things like that to improve on it. That is what you are doing with the knowledge you gain from your school. The next thing is to tell them why you want more knowledge. This is because already you have gained some knowledge and you're using it to do work. But you should be able to tell them that this knowledge I'm using to solve the problem is not enough. That is why I want more knowledge, because there will not be any need for you to request for more knowledge or to request to join an institution to learn again if the knowledge you've already acquired is enough. So, for instance, you've gone to study, let's say, IT, and you're able to use the IT to solve all your community problems. Then there's no need to go for masters or PhD in IT anymore because your community is sorted. But it is your responsibility to tell them that, okay, I've gained the knowledge to solve this A and B problem, but I'm still limited to solving the problem to this extreme because my knowledge and my capacity is not up to that reach. And so giving me an opportunity to your university would be able to give me the leverage and the ability to gain more knowledge, to come back, to contribute more. And the next thing is for you to talk why you are choosing that particular school. This is because there are thousands of schools out there. And you don't want them to just know that, okay, they are just also part of the numbers you are applying. You want to treat each school unique because the more you generalize schools, the more the schools will also see you as the general candidate. And so it can happen that you generalize all the schools and all of them will also see you as a general candidate and all of them will reject you. But the more you begin to personalize some of your things towards the school, the more the school thinks that, okay, this guy, all his hope is in our school, and he is seeking to come to our school to gain the needed knowledge he wants. And our school is like his last point. Let them feel that way. And that way, they would look for possible like option to keep you or bring you on board. And you can do this by citing to some of the labs, clubs, other resources like that you have come across, their research capabilities and things like that. And you can mention professors. So for instance, maybe in your coursework, you probably came across one professor's work from their university that even helped you to improve on your undergraduate work or some kind of work that you've done in the past that you think, okay, now coming to meet the professor in person and receiving his mentorship, it would even give you better leverage and more knowledge for you to increase your impact. So you have to cite. The other good side of citing professors is because when that happens, sometimes some of the universities redirect the applications to specific professors. And so when they see that you cite a particular professor, they may direct your application to that professor to read through. And if they find you worthy working with, then they can request that the school should recruit you. And so that is like um, something you can always try out, and it does work sometimes. And the next thing is to look at why you are the best candidate. And so, in the whole process, even though in your CV you have stated some of the certifications you've received, achievement, grades, courses you've taken, skills you've built, leadership, and all that, it is your responsibility at this point to make it more emphatic. You need to now tell them, okay, hey, um, so and so, and I've gained these skills, which are like foundations to your program. And so, what this means is that one, you are telling them that okay, already you've read about their program requirement and everything, and you have the foundations to meet that requirement because they don't want to admit a student who comes and would be struggling to even understand the whole program and things like that, or would come without prior knowledge of where they are coming to study. This may, well, I know some people might have questioned, okay, how about if I did a business administration and now I want to go into IT? It is your responsibility to be able to tell them why you want to go into IT at this point. So you could demonstrate that by citing some of the work or some of the things you have done in IT that makes you very capable. So maybe even though you're a business admin person, but throughout your studies, you've probably done one or two IT courses online, and even with that, you've been able to use that to build your personal portfolio. And so that is a demonstration that, okay, even though you're a BA person, but your interest in the IT is what has led you to even start doing something in IT. And that is something they would definitely know that, okay, a student who has been able to go this now will be able to survive and thrive in their school. And the reason,
Daniel,
yes,
please
please.
pardon me to interrupt, which is unrelated to your current presentation.
Okay.
Please take note, I've removed someone from the group, and if you realize he posted something about caregiver visa sponsorship in the United States, I've always told people from day one, please, we do not offer any consultancy for job nor admission application where we charge fees or we link you to a third party or whatsoever. Please, if you contact that link that has been provided and you transact business, you do so on your own accord, and we do not take responsibility for any outcome. What we do is that we bring you together, bring resource persons so that we have a discussion together. Then when you go, you are able to craft a personalized and an authentic presentation, statement of purpose, or a CV for that matter. So please disregard any message that has come through this means or any platform asking you to apply for a job or whatever. Thank you. Daniel, continue.
Thank you, Russ. This is also very important because even with some of these consultancy bodies, what they do is that they basically just use AI to generate some of these things for you. And the risk behind that, I would share that later. The next thing is to seek for funding. So you mention your background, the reason you want to go to the school and all that. It is now left for you to mention why they should fund you. So by stating like your skills and things, your capacity, your ability to thrive and things like that, you would now have to mention why they should fund you and if they are possible funding, why they should give it to you. Because remember, you are as well competing with other students for less funding, probably in your department or from the school and things like that. So you also want to mention to them clearly that, okay, if they give you admission and they give you funding, you will be able to succeed or you'll be able to um, have like a very strong um, foundation to be able to thrive in their program because finance could be a barrier to someone. If you have to go and work and come and study, it could be a challenge to you, and so giving you funding would take off that burden. The next thing is just to point out the impact of AI on SOPs as well. Now, AIs can be used to generate like SOPs for you. So people would ask, so what is even the need of joining all these sessions? The reason is that, or how this can be done is that there are some AI like ChatGPT and then BARD and things like that that you can submit your CV and give them few guidelines and they will generate a very solid SOP for you. But you would have to be very, very careful. And like Vasco just mentioned, for instance, if you submit or if you contact agents for some of these things, this is what they do. Because remember, they are not dealing with just you, they're dealing with thousands of other people which they need to attend to. And they probably don't have the luxury of time to write all the details about you. And so these people would just they'll submit your CV and some few guidelines into this AI, and then they generate the SOP for you, and you look at it with it would just look like some way, but you would think, oh, this is a very strong CV, looking at how the AI put together the words and things like that. But if you really know how AI does these things, you would be able to detect even from the word go. And so you need to be very careful about these things. What you can use the AI to do is that you can use the AI to generate the structure. So you can ask the AI, okay, I want to write an SOP to a particular school that is requesting or that is asking um, for students with so and so background and things like that. How do I draft it? So the AI can give you like pointers and things you should mention in your SOP. That is how you should use the AI, but never use it directly just for writing your SOP. The other thing is that there's Grammarly, which is another AI that you can use to check your grammatical error and things like that. And so you can use that for your benefit as well. But if you use AI to write your SOP, there will not be originality. And remember the ATS system I mentioned, the applicant tracking system. This system would be able to check and know that okay, this is written is not original. The thing is that even the AI, if you use it, remember it's even though you said okay, your CV says that you were an entrepreneur, you led club A, B, and C, or you got grade A, B, and C in this particular course. The AI will not be able to write some of the personalized experience or feelings or challenges you went through and some of the strategies you were able to use to overcome them. And so it will be using general words. It will be using words like, okay, although I had certain challenges in my school, I was still able to overcome them and then I got to so and so grade. Those are like generic words. And once other AI systems or once reviewers see those things, it's already a red flag. They know that this wasn't written by the applicant. The other thing is that the AI itself will be able to track and flag it against other issues because remember, these AI uses like thousands of cases and they just restructure it. So probably the IT people would understand it better, but it doesn't write anything new from the blue. It writes it from the fact that it is able to restructure and randomize words and put them together to form a new AC. And so there are other AIs that are able to detect this, and once that happens, it will flag it up. And the other thing is plagiarism. So some schools have plagiarism checkers, and plagiarism is basically um, being able to detect the closeness or the similarity of one essay to another. So if I have ever written my application and submitted to a particular common application portal, the system in a way could be keeping track of that essay. And so once someone submits something similar, the system would be able to use the AI system to flag it. Some other key pointers is that you need to be very clear. It has to be grammar free. You have to use like a clear language. Grammar free in the sense that if you write your essay and it's full of grammatical error, already you be seen as a very non-serious person doesn't um, who doesn't like take things very important and things like that. And so um, already will be a red flag as well. Avoid cliche, like avoid using certain words in your statement of purpose and things like that, and also keep it formal. Don't use jargons and words that are all over the place and words like don't write as though you are talking to a friend. Write as though you are speaking to a very formal person. But at the same time, remember you are writing a story. But the story should still be such that it keeps all these formalities on point. And also keep very positive tone. Don't be like, and so because of COVID, I wasn't very motivated enough, and that is why I failed some of my courses. Once you say that, it it would clearly point to the what do you call it, the reviewers that okay, you are someone who is not able to find strategies to overcome challenges, or you are someone who cannot work without like strict regulation or guidelines or things like that. So you should try to, as much as possible, limit um, how you you write your whole story around things around like challenges. So when you mention a particular challenge, try to speak about how you were able to employ certain strategies. It could be that okay, because of COVID you were struggling, but you were able to book time with let's say um, your other colleague students to seek for explanation. You were able to book time, what do you call it, office hours with your lecturers, or you were able to seek for assistance from other resources, or you're able to now spend more time on YouTube, even though that costed you more in terms of data and things like that. Make it clear that way so that they will know that okay, you are not just someone who just what do you call it, find ways around problems, but when problems comes, you're able to look for very better strategies to overcome them. And trust you me, this was asked in one of my interviews. I was asked, so how are you able to navigate challenges around, or how are you able to navigate challenges? And I just mentioned it to them that okay, when I become overwhelmed with certain challenges, I seek for one first help from my colleagues, and then two, I try to find help around myself by looking at the resources available, spending more time in that course, and then lastly, I resort to the faculty for more support and things like that. So just like how they asked in the interview, they usually look out for some of those things when they are reviewing your AC as well. And then the other general insight is that you should um when you are writing your SOP, like I said, generally you have to look out for the guidelines from the university. Some university go as far as providing templates, and they would put like sub questions under each of the template and what they look out for. So they could give you like a whole template that would ask you about two or three questions. but under each of them, they want you to answer them separately, and they have specifics that they want you to respond to. So you have to look out for that. You have to also look out for word limit. So the word limit is basically um, they giving you the number of words to write in your essay. One other reason you should consider this because always remember the ATS system. If you overwrite and you submit, the system will detect that, okay, this essay is more than the word limit and it will flag it. So it might not proceed. The other thing is that you have to be specific to every school when you're writing your SOP. Don't be generic. Don't be like applying because US schools have well-equipped resources and they have renowned lecturers and things like that. Once you do that, uh, I mean, they won't even mind. That's the whole thing. So you should be specific. Try as much as possible to. You can have a general one, but once you want to submit it to a particular school, take time off to restructure it, write it, and mention some few professors' names, and then make it very like specific to that university, and it will really help. Also, use like a very reasonable font type, style, whatever. And usually Times New Roman is usually recommended. Um, Arial is also there, Calibra, Vandana, and all those things. Try to use those ones. And well, you can minimum 11 font size, but you can go up to let's say 13 or 14. Don't also make it too big just to occupy space. This is because if you do that, it would look some way to read. The extra tips is that with SOP, it's usually not highly recommended to um, read a lot of other people SOP draft before writing. This is because it would influence how you write about your story. First, try to look out for the guidelines and how, like I stated earlier, in terms of the structure. And then try to craft your story in that unique structure. And so, if it's a very good SOP, the next thing is that make your story unique in terms of sharing your experience, summarize it, tell the problems you encountered, how you were able to overcome them, your limitations, and things like that. Make everything very to yourself so that they know that, okay, we are reading about so and so and no one else. And make it the reason you should also make it a story because story sticks. Once you make it a story, and the professor reads it or whoever reads it, they will be able to remember your SOP even after reading other thousand other SOPs. And a typical example is how we are all able to remember like simple stories back in basic school and things like that. And so once they remember your story very well and it kind of clicks to them and things like that, they'll be able to approve for you to move to the next stage. And so basically, these are all the tips. And I think one other last tip is also, yeah, yeah, basically, these are all some of the tips I want to share. But let me quickly show you my CV so that we can move to the question and answer session. Um, yeah. So this is my CV. Now, okay, let me quickly give one other typical example difference between the professional and then the academic CV. Now, for a professional CV, you want to point out your professional work more. So let's say you are someone who didn't really engage much back in school, but now you've gone to the professional world and you've really contributed massively. So you now want to point out that aspect more. And that is what someone with a professional background could point out in their CV. So, for instance, the executive summary aspect was what I was speaking about, or research interest, or something like that. So, it could be as simple as something like this, and It basically summarizes everything about you. Now, even the first part is actually the address, which is your name and then your address and probably your email and portfolio. So this is my portfolio link. Once I click on this one, it takes me to my portfolio. When I click on this, it takes me to email. So when they want to email you, they just click on this. This is the contact. So you can just do it as simple as this, and this is solid enough. Now, ask me, I don't know if I have the permission to share this, but most most of I've applied to most other this thing and I have received reply just because of my CV. I remember I reached out to one professor asking for financial support and things like that. And the professor replied to me, hosted a meeting with me, just only to tell me that they were marvel at my CV and they just wanted to talk to me, but they didn't even have the funding at all. So someone like that, if like they find some other person who probably have the funding, they can recommend you to that person, or they can tell that person that, oh, I know some other student who applied and they are looking for funding. You can reach out to them and find out and so like that. So make sure it's very solid and simple and straightforward. One other thing is that for masters, usually it's highly recommended to keep it one page and two-page max. And even for PhD, two pages max as well. And so this is also the education. Make it very simple as well. I made this particular CV actually for some application. That's why I stated certain courses, and those courses were like aligned to the particular program. And even the summary here were also structured and tailored towards that program. So every program I want to apply, I come to change the summary and I come to change the relevant courses. That is even if it is that necessary. And then you have some of the achievement here. Now, if you look at the CV as well, you see that it's very simple to read. And one, it's not bolding all over, and the bolding or the bolds that I've used it on specific words. That is to make emphasis on those specific words, and usually those are like keywords and things like that. So these are also like links, hyperlinks that are inside. So when you click on these hyperlinks, it leads you to more details. This is because sometimes it's not just enough to say that okay, you were best this, or you have participated in this. Sometimes they want to see evidence and they may not have the luxury of time to reach back to you to ask for the evidence. So if you do it like that, it makes it simple. And this is also how, let's say, the publication side looks like. I'll later share the template with you guys so that you can follow it to draft your own as well. But like I said earlier, for instance, someone who doesn't have publication experience, it will be better for you to bring your project presentation in place of the publication experience. Now, if I'm submitting this same CV for a job, what I need to do is that I need to tweak things around. I have to shift like my work experience to the place where the publication and research is. That is because for the professional world, they are looking for your work experience, but they are not necessarily looking for your publication, even though that is an added advantage. And so you need to know where you're submitting it to and how to structure it. And like I stated earlier, all the guidelines are also in the slide, which I'll share with you for you to follow as well. And so something like projects too, when you come to the project, you have to also structure it very well. So for instance, here was project or work experience for people who don't really have projects to show. But projects also vary, and as I mentioned in the earlier part of the presentation, use pointers or achievements you have had. Don't just be someone who always just join things and will not contribute. For instance, if you join a company and then you support them with ideas to be able to uh, become first in something, it's you were part of the team and that is how they were, or you try to mention how you contributed ideas to help the team win that, and that could be a plus for you. So in any project or thing like that, try to mention key things that you think um, I don't know how to put it, but you think like key pointers or things that are like KPIs. So they are like metrics you can, or performance indicators that can boldly show that, okay, you weren't just part of this, but this was the result you were able to achieve. And KPIs are like key point performance indicators. So make your KPIs in everything you are doing very crucial for you. Work experience, because like I said, I'm using it for educational purposes. The work experience would only be an added advantage. Now, there's also one other trick. For instance, um, if the work experience is very key towards like the application, then you can shift that up and make that one show more. Because remember, CV reviewers don't take more than a minute. They just scan. I think the last time, like some of them usually say they take like 20, 30 seconds to scan through. And so it is only when they are attracted to your CV that they read it. So you have to like position things right, and then maybe leadership experience, and then volunteerism, and entrepreneurship, and then probably your skills. And yeah, that could be it. So that's basically how you can structure it. And if you look at it, everything looks very clear. And also something like the dates, very consistent. If you're using short forms, use short forms throughout. If you're using the full date system, use the full date system throughout. And in each of them, mention just some key distance. And so I think that is basically all on the CV aspect. Um, and also the distance as well. So thank you all very much for your rapt attention, and I would quickly move on to the Q&A session, or if there's any other thing I've left out to my brother Vasco can just point it out before we quickly move to the Q&A session. I know this has taken much longer than expected, but that is because we are combining two things, both the CV and then the SOP. Yeah, thank you. So Vasco, if in case you have anything short to add before we quickly move to the question and answer session.
Yeah.
But like I promised I would send the CV template as well.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much. This has been an excellent presentation, and you did a great job. I want to add a few things. When you were talking about the CV, you mentioned about the fact that they should tailor it to a specific job application or instructions that might be given. And you were also trying to mention the fact that people should not just be participants of a project, but they should contribute wherever they find themselves. And I just wanted to draw their attention that there's what we call CV action words, or you can call them CV verbs, and then what you would find plenty of them that you can always use in your application, in your CV writing. So maybe administered, directed, coordinated, supported, collaborated, delegated. Those are some words you would use that the system would be able to track and know the kind of person you are, rather than just some people write their achievements or activities or roles under the particular position, and it's really difficult to write. So it will be good and necessary that you make use of those action verbs on your CV or your curriculum vitae or resume or whatever you would call it. Also, on using the AI to write statement of purpose. Yes, AI has come to make our work easier for us, but it hasn't come to replace the work we will do ourselves. So even if you give, so I've sent some prompts of the CV action words or action verbs to the chat box. You can have a look at them. The AI is to make work easier for them. So even if you use the AI to generate the statement of purpose, it will be very necessary that you try as much as possible to get the discipline to also edit it yourself, customize it, see some of the things that you think that the AI has left out. Don't be carried away by each use of very if like sweet words or conveying the words together, as Daniel said. The statement of purpose should go beyond that. It should go to tell a story about you as a person, and that is what the AI will not be able to do. So, for instance, if I'm writing a statement of purpose for admission into a maternal health program, this AI tool will not know my mom in the village, how she suffered through 8 of her pregnancies without any healthcare facility. The nearest was like maybe 10, 15 miles away, no transportation, a certain age, she needed to even, or she thought of giving up giving birth because she was struggling in each of these pregnancies, a whole lot of things. These are things that the AI will not be able to write for you. But immediately you try to bring in these human perspectives and examples or story into it, you make your statement of purpose live. And please try as much as possible to stay away from consultants or whatever you call them. But the truth is that there is nothing that a consultant would be able to do without getting it from you. Can you imagine I'm a consultant being able to provide your date of birth, your address, and those things? No, it's not possible. They have to ask for it from you. Your CV, they will ask you to give it to them. They cannot create a CV for you. What they can best do is to get yours, edit it, or put it through a certain system to generate it for you, and they put it there for you. The recommendations, they'll have to ask you to give you the list of your recommenders or people you think you want them to write for you before they do that. So basically, you have asked them to do something for you, and they turn and come back to you to ask for the same information and use it for you. But with a little discipline, you sit down and you will be able to do all these things by yourself. I think that let me pause here, then we'll take the questions and answers. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Sebasco. And I also have one other boss, Sayembila. So in case you also have something to add, you can chip in as well. So I'll start with the questions. I think one of the first questions in here is saying that is it okay to include a work that is not yet published? Say a work that is in press and yet to be published. Yes, you can do that as well. Usually you can put it in, you can state that manuscript under review or something like that. There's a way to structure it that way within your CV as well. And even in your SOP, you can mention it as well. So that is it for you, Godwin. Thank you. And I'll leave it to Sayembila to take over. Sayembila, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Vasco, for organizing this, and thank you, everyone, for attending and the opportunity to just share something. So for me, I think when you look at people's CV, you wonder how, maybe you think these people are just so lucky or blessed, or they have gotten opportunities, and that's why they've put it there. So if you've never worked, you've never published a paper, how then do you put something on your CV? And especially if you are in your first year in the university, perhaps there might not be opportunities for you to even volunteer or participate in something and put something on your CV. So I just wanted to say that if you find yourself in such a situation, please start with volunteering. When you get your holidays, don't go and then be like, there's nothing to do, or you just go to Galamsey or somewhere else. You'll be repeating the same mistakes. That's what I was telling one of my mentees this evening. Vacation is coming. He's thinking of what to do, and his first, option is to go and look for money. Please volunteer. Just find something to volunteer in a factory, at the district assembly, MTN, wherever. Just go ask, volunteer, even if it's 1 week or 2 weeks. That's how you start. And once you get something professional on your CV, it's just going to continue. Like, you get more opportunities because of one opportunity you put on your CV. And if you notice from Daniel's CV, Daniel, I don't know if you have your permission to say that on Daniel's CV, you saw that he has 3 publications. 2 of them are actually internal to Amoshie, like Amoshie internal journal, just to encourage research in school. So Daniel took advantage of those things and published 2 papers in addition to his paper that, got published at IEEE. So those are opportunities. Someone might look at it and look like, oh, it's simple, but yeah, it's simple. It's as simple as doing a class project and convert it into a publication. So you have to take advantage of those things. If your school doesn't have it, there are places that you can actually share your paper online. So write something, even if your end of semester paper, write it, get someone who knows how to make papers publishable, work with them, let them help you make it up to some standard that you can put it online. So there are those free places that before you publish your paper, you can actually upload it there and it's available. At least even if it is not published, you can put a link to it and someone can go check it out on your CV, and those things would be really helpful. So yeah, that's just something brief I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. Yeah, thank you very much for your contribution as well. So to Sami, yes, like I mentioned earlier, the recommended number of pages for the CV should be 1 to 2 pages. This is because the reviewers are looking at thousands of CVs and will not have the luxury of time to go through um, 10 pages or 5 pages of CV. And funny enough, the thing is that most people have like would probably present 5 pages of CV, but when you go into it in reality, it could be summarized to 1 or 2 pages. And that is because, for instance, they are probably putting details that are not very necessary to that particular application, that are not too necessary, or yeah, something like that. But 1 to 2 pages max, as unless like the school gives other range or something like that. Thank you. So Latif, please you can go next. Hello Latif, you can unmute and speak.
All right. Good evening. Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, please. I wanted to find out something on the SOP. So maybe on the school website or maybe on the department website. Maybe if they don't specify or maybe give a number of pages or number of words for the SOP, what do you think might be like the reasonable kind of number of pages or maybe number of words that you have to put out? Thank you. And also about the what do you call it? About okay, I have a specific problem about with my SOP. So here's the case. I did civil engineering. Then my and right now I want to pursue transportation engineering, MSc or MS or maybe PhD. And now here's the case. My undergrad thesis has been done on water resource management. So how is it possible for me, like maybe putting up an SOP, would it be motivating enough if I put that water resource management project inside it? Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll give my answer and then ask my bosses to contribute as well. Yes, so with the SOP, also it's highly recommended to keep it between 1 to 2 pages max. That is because for 1 page you can put it like 1.5 uh, Word, what do you call it? So in Word, if you're using Microsoft Word, the line spacing, you can put it like 1.5, or if you keep it like 1.25, it means that you will be compressing the words more. And so with that, you can keep it like, let's say, 1 page. But if you extend it to, let's say, 2.0 or 1.5, then you can keep it around, let's say, 2 pages. But even with that, it's highly recommended to keep it between 500 to 1,000 words. You don't have to necessarily extend beyond that. And those number of words can be kept within, let's say, 1 to 2 pages. So that is that for the words limit and then the SOP part. But also with regards to the change of program, like I mentioned earlier, um, the change of program or your decision towards changing that program didn't come like all of a sudden. It came as a
Okay,
result.
can
Uh,
I come in? Okay, so
okay, sure.
okay, change of program. I think it's all under civil engineering. I think they're all under civil engineering. There's transportation, and then there's also water resource management, sanitation, and all that under civil
Okay.
engineering. And I have done courses in school that are like I've done courses in school under water resource management and also under transportation engineering. But it's just that my thesis that I have written on water resource management, but I always had interest in transportation engineering. I chose water
Okay.
resource management in school to write it's a story, it's a long story. Maybe I might not
Yeah.
want to bore you guys with that one.
Yeah.
But then that's what I did. I wrote
Okay.
a degree thesis and undergrad thesis on water resource management. But I've always wanted to do transportation engineering. Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you. So like I mentioned earlier, it it probably didn't just come all of a sudden. So it came as a result of continuous development of interest and the fact that you've taken relevant courses, uh, it's a plus for you to demonstrate that okay, these were even reasons that triggered you to try out taking some of these courses, and you have the foundation from these courses to try if they should give you the opportunity. You can also mention some of the things, even though like it might not be a direct link, but you can also find a way to function how the whole water project even links to transport and how like they could be linked in an ecosystem or something like that. So um, it's it's not something like very too difficult to do, but the fact that you already have the interest and you have had some skills building experience and things like that, it's an advantage for you to be able to link it up. So I'll probably open the floor for Sebasco or any other person on the call who has some additions to respond to Lucky.
Vasco, I'm
Yeah,
waiting for you.
Daniel. Yeah, I mean that was the right response. However, Latif, as you rightly mentioned, both transportation management and water resource management are both under what civil engineering. Let's even assume that they are not under the same, if you like, profession or engineering category. The essence of mentioning the project work is to let the professor or whosoever is reading your work understand that this guy has somewhat, at least some knowledge of what research. You know, research is a process, it's a scientific process. So even though what you did was not in transportation management, if actually you follow the process to carry it out, the implication is that when you go to the transportation management, you'll be able to do same. So it does not necessarily mean that the publication or the project has to be directly in line with what you said. That's what I would say. But I think the other aspect, Daniel clearly dealt with that. Thank you.
Thank you. So any other question? I realized that most of the questions asked in the group were actually answered throughout the presentation. But in case there's an outstanding one that anyone thinks they want to be clarified, they can ask. Here. Feel free to ask any question. There are a lot of resource persons around, so they can help. William, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. And my network has been on and off. I don't know whether this question has been answered already, but pardon me if, because as I said, my network issues. I just want to find out about inclusion of publications into your CV. If you have a paper or papers that are under review, is it advisable to include them in your CV?
Yes, please. You can include it, and usually, so if there are many, actually, there's a way you can categorize them. And you can actually put a small title under it, and then you can say accepted papers. So what that means is that those papers have been accepted but are not yet published. And so in the referencing, or how you are going to write the referencing, you are going to write it such that you would indicate the publication house or the group that is going to do the publication, but you will not be able to add like the publication date and then the publication link and things like that. So yes, it's high, like you can add accepted papers that are not yet published, and you can either say manuscript under review, or even if it is under review, it could be that it is accepted and it is just left with the publication, or it could also be that it's under review before it will be accepted, and you can add all of that to your CV as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just a quick follow-up. I think during your presentation, you
William,
made mention. Okay.
before you follow up, even if the manuscript is not under review, even if you did a project in school that is gathering dust on the shelf of your school, please indicate it on your CV, because it's only when you have many that you want to eliminate those that you have not published. But in the event that you don't have many publications or any publication, and you did a project in school that has not been published or whatever, because maybe your supervisor did not help you, or you didn't know, or you yourself, you knew that the paper was not up to standard, but that's why you couldn't publish, still indicate it on your this thing, but indicate that unpublished. That's all. So you can put it as a project, you can put it as research, then you put it that is unpublished. Thank you. So for
William, please follow up your question. Hello, William. You can add the follow-up question. I guess William network.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. You can add your follow-up
Yes.
question.
Okay, thank you. So the follow-up question is about the thesis and publication aspect. So I have my let's say bachelor's degree thesis, and then I've been able to publish my bachelor's degree thesis. So in my CV, should I capture it under both thesis and then publication, or I should just capture it under publication?
It depends, and like Sevasco said, it will only, like, you can only make those categories if you have more to show. So let's say you have more publication, and so you want to show your thesis first before you come to your publication. Then you have the opportunity, or you have the liberty to put it under thesis before you come to your publication. But if you don't have more to show, then you can say thesis through publication or something like that. And also, it comes back to the fact that, okay, if you have more things to talk about in your CV, then you want to combine some other things so that you can get more space to present things in a more professional way. So it all depends on you and how you want to make it more professional and clean enough. I don't know if this answers it for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So Samuel is asking about the AI support. Can I draft an SOP and turn it in for an example? For and turn it in for an example ChatGPT to adapt it to probably write a more condensed draft? Is it like is it likely to be red flagged? So if I understand you well, Samuel, by turning in your paper means that you are trying to submit it into the AI system for it to rewrite it for you or something of that sort. Well, if it depends on how you instruct the AI, right? So you can write it and then you would submit it and instruct it to rewrite it. But at the end of the day, the new written one by the AI, you have to make sure you review it very well and make sure that the AI did not lose whatever meaning you were trying to convey. Because what happens is that some of these AI, you might be trying to say something, but the AI will restructure it to mean another thing. And so you don't want to lose track of whatever you are trying to convey. That is one. Two, if you submit it and then it condense it, let's say, much more, and then remove some of the very key or very important pointers of your application, it would make your application much more weak. And so you wouldn't want to experience something around that. So um, submitting it to the AI to compress it or condense it for you, you just have to watch out what the outcome would be and how you are going to redraft it so that it doesn't become a flagged one. Thank you. Unless Vasco or Ayumbla or any other person want to add to that question as well.
Yeah, Daniel, I think that's okay. Thank you.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Lo. The network is a bit bad. If you can't really speak, you can type it in the chat session and let me take some more questions. Somewhere you can speak. So, Lo, you can kindly type your question in the chat session.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks very much for the opportunity. And then, yeah, with regards to the question I just asked. So, for example, you turn it in like maybe you ask it to redraft it for you, and maybe you are done with that, and you submit it to the school. And then I quite remember you said the school uses a tracker. So in this case, since the AI that you used help you in a way, is it likely to, the system they are using to detect that, oh, this is AI written, and then probably red flag it? Yes, that's what I'm actually asking.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. So yes, just to re-clarify things, I I I wasn't I didn't really say that like all schools uses the applicant tracking system, but most schools, because most of the schools receive like thousands of applications. And so in order to cut down numbers before they start reviewing, they usually pass it through systems like that, the applicant tracking system. So it's not all schools that does that. So don't be scared about that part first. But the other thing is that, for instance, if you pass it through the AI, like I responded earlier, the AI is basically just restructuring what you have written. And if you remember in the early part of the presentation, I said that, for instance, there are some AI tools like Grammarly, which you can use to do grammatical corrections and things like that. If that happens, it doesn't become an AI flag paper. It doesn't mean the AI wrote it for you. What it means is that or it wouldn't really even show unless like the AI rechange like the whole structure of your paper. And that is why I said when the AI returns the drafted or the final paper, you have to check out to see if it doesn't change the content by that, like it doesn't change all the keywords, it doesn't change what you're trying to portray and things like that. If it changes all those stuff, then it can be AI flag. But if it doesn't change it and just like cut off just some words and things like that, then you are free to go. But also there are some AIs that you can use to check your own paper as well. But those ones, some are free, so they don't really show advanced details of whatever the other advanced paid ones could show. So you can just search for AI tool for checking plagiarism and things like that, and you see some. Grammarly, actually, the premium version also has that option as well. So thank you, and I hope that answers your question. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, Long, you can go ahead.
All right, so
Sorry, Long.
I have this particular quiz already. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I said I have this SOP from a senior colleague who's already out there in the US. But I think we have almost the same story and then the same research, let me say, interest. Can I use his SOP and tell AI to, let me say, rewrite it for me?
Thank you. We are running out of time, and I'm hoping we'll be done in the next few minutes. But once I try to answer that, if you have final questions, like one or two questions, just put it up, and if we are able to do that, we'll answer. Else, we can answer it in the group. But yeah, back to you. So, what the thing is that remember, like, no matter what you pass, like, just think of it, right? No matter what happens, two different people that pass through two different situations will definitely share two different stories. And so even though it might seem like, okay, all of you passed through maybe, or both of you are from the same family, you've gone through the same high school, same university, same research interest, but you still have different ways of narrating your story. And that is why I stated earlier that it's good for you to draft your story before you make references to other stories to polish it up. And so, in that regard, you can give it to the AI to paraphrase it or rewrite it for you. But the other trick is that if his application or if his essay is under track of some other AI, once you submit the paraphrased one, which maybe you are not able to paraphrase it very well or restructure it very well, the other AI will be able to use that to track similarity. And that is where plagiarism comes in. And that happens a lot even in some universities. So you have someone having old content from seniors and they want to paraphrase it, but they are not able to do it very well. And the system catches them that they have this percentage of plagiarism. So just be conscious about how you go about the whole thing. Know that you have your own unique story, even though you all pass through the same system. But you should be able to also structure it in a more unique way so that it won't really be very exactly the same or something like that. Yeah, thank you. So I think we just have a few minutes to go. I don't know if Sevasco want to give some final comments before we wrap up. We've taken much of your time, but I'm sure it's worth it.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much. And I really appreciate you taking time off your busy schedule to take us through this presentation today. We did not organize this event just because we felt we want to, or we think people don't know how to write CVs or statement of purpose. For those who have followed us for long, we started this, our weekly engagement at the beginning of the year. We've spoken on several issues, and I think of the many requests we get is a session alone on SOP and then CV. And that is why we actually came out with this. And as I've always said, we don't mind about the numbers, whether it's 100 or 50. The importance of a garden like this is that at the end of the day, at least we want that one person should be able to put this into use. We want that at the end of this process, someone should be able to go and sit down and craft a CV and send it to us to have a look at it. Someone should be able to improve upon their statement of purpose that they have. We don't organize this for fun just because at the Center for Generational Leaders, these are the people. No, we don't just want to gather numbers. We want to make impact in the life of at least one person at each time we meet. So please, let's not see this maybe as a fanfare or just a gathering of another people to make presentations so that we can say that we have done so and so for so and no, we don't. That is not the aim of this presentation, but to ensure that we provide information that is relevant to everyone. And to my dear audience, for those who have not been able to stay up to the meeting and for those who have stayed up to this long, and those who continue to join our meetings, we say thank you very much because the truth is that without you, this meeting wouldn't have been possible. So thank you very much for your time, and our doors are always open. Daniel and myself are on the Center for Generational Leaders platform. I open it up once a while for comments. You can always put your comments, and then we would also take the opportunity to take suggestions for further or subsequent sessions. Thank you very much, Daniel, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Vasco, for the opportunity too. It was an honor. And so I'm glad if you're still on the call and you have some last words, or if anyone has
Yeah,
some last words.
Daniel, okay, thank you. You've said it on the WhatsApp platform. I wanted to request that you share the documents on the
Okay,
WhatsApp
yes,
platform as well, but that is done. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Aboka, where review my SOP? Where review my SOP?
Sure.
I'm making noise here.
Okay. Let me also make this because of what Latif is saying. Daniel talk about timeliness in your statement of purpose or getting your referees to write your statement of purpose. Don't wait until it's left 1 week to the deadline. Then you send a request to the lecturer or whoever is supposed to write the recommendation, and you start to put pressure on the person. The person is not going to mind you. So it is with me that if you send your statement of purpose to me less than a week, so you don't expect that I should send it to you.
My friend can't tell me that.
When I met with you and I asked you to go and bring a draft and let me look at it, you took you more than a week to submit. So you don't expect that.
It didn't take me more than a week. It didn't take me more than a week. I submitted the thing.
So you don't expect that as you stop whatever I'm doing and review it for you. So please make sure you get your lecturers or whoever is writing your recommendation for you informed ahead of time, at least 1 month before the deadline, so that they may be able to adjust their timelines and then write it for you.
You are always